Okay. Hello and,
Hey.
and welcome. Lisa is on silent. No. Say hello, Lisa.
Hello, sorry, I was going off silence because I thought my doorbell was about to go. So that was
Funny.
I apologize.
Yeah, we're just going with the flow. We're showing up to what is, right?
Okay, I'll leave it as it is, and let's see if we get interrupted.
Who knows? My mom could yell downstairs from downstairs.
And at any point, my son's going to come upstairs and scream because it's bedtime. You know, they're rolling with what is.
Lunch is ready. Come on down.
It's a real conversation. Yeah. But yeah, no, thank you for joining us.
Oh my God, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So for those listening, who are you?
Wait, is that a question to me?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Surprise.
Yeah. Wow, now you got me like
now you're in the hot seat.
Who am I? Man. So I start with my I am statement like Gary, like our fellow coach Gary Mahler would do. But well, my name's John Guanci, and I'm a coach. Well, not only a coach, but I'm a husband, right? to two beautiful boys, a loving wife. Well, dad to two boys, right? A husband to a loving wife. And yeah, I'm a full-time coach. I work with, folks who typically in around the areas of leadership and relationships and in business. That tends to be where my focus is these days.
And welcome, John. It's so good to see. We for those listening and watching, we've already been having a really cool conversation just before this, and we were saying just before we press record, man, I hope we can repeat some of this because some of the stuff is absolute gold, which I'm sure we can.
Maybe we can mine maybe we can mine some more gold. We'll see. I'm sure something will occur.
Let's go diamonds. Let's just dig a little deeper.
That sounds great.
So we've kind of set up these conversations. So we wanted to talk to some of what we consider the best coaches in the world. And we want to really get into what does it take to be a successful coach? You know, what has coaches not make it? What has coaches make it? And just be really real with the life of being a coach and creating ourselves as a coach and building a business as a coach, serving as a coach. And yeah, we just want this conversation and the following ones we have to serve and to be part of that solution and creation.
I think there's so much. We were just sharing this before we hit record. There's so much support, especially in the UK, for coaches to enter into this industry, or people to enter into this industry and learn the skill of coaching. Mm-hmm. And then that support finishes at the end of school. And there's really minimal training, really minimal supervision, good quality supervision and guidance around how to then establish a really successful business in this world. And so that was, Sam and I are kind of on a mission really to fill a gap so that really talented, heartfelt coaches stay in this industry because the world does need it.
Right.
And what we're seeing is a lot of people that then they're trying, they're experimenting, they're falling into various pitfalls and traps, which we've been through, which many, many, many other coaches have been through. But then what happens is they get in their heads about, it must be me. I can't do this. My money's running out. I need to go back and get a job. And then it's bye-bye coaching. It wasn't for me. So we really wanted to set up these conversations with people who have had an experience of, fuck, it's tough, man. Apologies if anyone is listening to, there might be some swearing in this episode.
I'm deeply offended and upset. I'm leaving.
But you know, like it's real and it's tough to being really willing to stay in the game and find a way that feels good to you to grow your business. And here we are with you, someone that has been your experience.
100%. I love everything you just said, and it resonates with me completely. Because 100% the struggle is real and it's tough. But if you can somehow, right? If you know, like like a law firm would, a lot of their logos that like there's that like that scale, where it kind of goes like this. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Talking about like it's like you put a weight on one side and
With a
this
scale.
side goes up. So
Oh, I thought you said a law firm.
yeah, like a law firm would use a lot of times would use that as like a logo. They're going,
Okay, I'm with you.
You've
Sorry.
got to allow us in your mind, John. That was without
so
context.
anyway, that was a disaster. So I want you to picture like a scale,
Okay.
right? And it's like there's two sides, and if you put more weight on one side, naturally it's going to fall down, and the other side's going to rise up. So I want you to imagine, like in the world of coaching, well, there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear in terms of how am I going to make money? Am I going to be any good? Oh my God, this person just hired me. Now I actually have to coach them. Like there's all of that. So it's like if you can somehow have your fear be less than, like, in other words, have your desire to like get through it, or your push to want your desire to do it. If you can just have that become greater than the fear, then you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's the same thing like when you're learning how to ride a bike as a kid. The first time you get on it, more than likely you're going to hit the pavement. I mean, unless your father's like really right there, holding on to you. But more than likely, as soon as he let go, or your mom lets go, you're going to go down. And for many kids, that's enough to say, I'm good. I'm good. I'm no interest in riding a bike. And for many of them, they don't learn until years later, and that's fine. No judgment there. I'm just saying. And then there's the kid who wants to ride the bike, but knows that there's a real good chance that they're going to fall on the pavement again, and they're going to get scuffed up. Sometimes it hurts, but their desire to want to ride the bike is greater than the fear. So what happens? They learn how to ride the bike. So as a coach, as someone who's creating a business after saying of spending time learning how to be a coach, right? Now it's about building the business of coaching. The fear, the struggle, not only is it real, but it's totally normal. And if you can somehow have the desire to actually do it, always remain greater than the fear of what might occur, or you not being able to do it, or running out of money, whatever it is for you, you'll be fine. You'll eventually figure it out. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have to get creative in terms of, earning a living, depending on where you're at financially. So this idea of, should I just quit and go get a job? For many coaches, they think that's the end. That's the end of the journey. That's it. I can't do it anymore. I got to go get a job. Not necessarily. It is if you say it is, but not necessarily, because now you can use that job as the fuel for your coaching, right? Who says you have to go get a full-time job? Who says you can't, why can't you humble yourself and, wait tables or anything? Who says it has to be 40 hours a week? So it's not the end of the world, right? It's not the end of your coaching career. If you go, it looks like I'm not going to be able to do this full time. I'm going to have to go get a job. No problem.
Yeah. I love what sorry, I was just going to say, I love what you shared there about humbling yourself. That's such a great example of how we get in our way by having an idea of how it should look, how it should be, what this means about me. And that stops me from then doing the things like I could wait tables to earn a living and grow my business on the side. And that's what you're talking about, right? When the desire is strong enough, we do things like that. And we see that those circumstances are then working for us as opposed to happening to us. And if only I didn't have to do this, my business would be flourishing.
That was helpful for me because that's exactly what I did. Because in that was pretty humbling. I'm not going to say there wasn't a whole lot of like judgment, like to myself around, I should be able to do this, right? There were a lot of that. So I had to sort of learn to be okay with that. There's your doorbell. Was it your doorbell? It just went off. Okay. I didn't even hear it. See, I shouldn't even acknowledge it, but now we have it on this recording and people have to hear that.
I'm hoping someone else is going to let them in. You'll hear a knock.
Now you have to open your parcel so that everyone listening knows what's in it.
Yeah, right. No, but it's like sometimes what can occur when you do get the job, it's nice to have some money coming in, because what happens is that you're actually now able to be with someone. Like, let's call it a prospect. Like, say, Sam, you're a prospect of mine. You and I are talking about the possibility of you and I working together. I don't need your money now. There isn't that like, oh, I gotta get Sam as a client. So, and then what occurs, I know for me, when that occurred, I would get all up in my head and self-conscious, and you feel that, Sam. It's like you feel that neediness from me, and that creeps you out. You're not gonna work with me, right? Or you may accept my proposal, but more than likely, a few months down the road, things are gonna get weird, and it's gonna be a really weird dynamic, because you're gonna sense that I'm coming from this place of need. So if you can figure the money part out early on, and you can just relax into, number one, who you are and where you are, that's when you're going to start to see results.
Yeah. That's
really key. I think that's really key, learning how to truly relax in terms of where you are and who you are, slowing down. And there's real power in that, because you can get your feet underneath you. You can breathe, right? And there's less of this gripping and clenching and need and should and have to's and, hold on, what's Sam doing to create clients? Or this person's putting all this content out, and oh, I got to do that too. And then you're scrambling, and next thing you know, it's like you think that's what's going to create wealth for you, but it doesn't do any of that. It just makes things more confusing, and it leads to you oftentimes more judgment and more condemnation towards yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a killer.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if we're not sure how to handle it. What you shared there, John, I think it's such an important part of this conversation around service. And often we talk about service and how to serve our clients, how to serve other people. That service is a way of being. Service is something that we have fundamentally in our business that helps us create our business. But before all of that, we have, am I in service to myself? What do I need so that I can serve? That what you shared there, because I had exactly the same experience, but it sounds as you as, hey, I need to go and earn some money from somewhere else so that I can not have that on my mind when I'm speaking to this person.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me.
Yeah. And it's such an important part of it.
Yeah. What do I have to work on? I love what you just said. Like, in order for me to be a person of service, to be of service to someone, because I truly know, and you'll teach this, your students, you'll get this, because that'll be part of what they're learning. In other words, coming from this place of service, that's actually what creates clients.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Intimacy creates clients. Mm-hmm. You being in such a way, you showing up in such a way where you are literally your love, you are pure presence. You're there to help, not to get anything. You're there to help. And it just goes, it's like a paradox, right? It's like, that's actually when you do get the client, when you show up empty and not attached to getting them or needing them.
Yeah.
But so a great question to ask is, what do I need to work on? So it takes a bit of courage to look this way, right? Towards you.
Mm.
What do I need to correct? Not fix, right? Because that would imply that you're broken. There's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. But you could use a bit of course correction.
Well, can we ask what are some of the course corrections you had to go on?
I had to really, what helped me is I asked the question, what is it that I'm most afraid of? What is it, like, where is the fear? And it took a while for me to to sort of tease that out in a way. And because there was this judgment around, well, having the fear in the first place, like I shouldn't have this fear, right? And one of the fears was, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like one of the fears was, you're going to hire me, Lisa, and then you're going to say a week later that this is complete crap and I'm not getting any value. So there was this fear of, well, criticism, right? Fear of what you might think of me. Fear of, yeah, it was that for me. That was really real. And then noticing what would occur really inside of me when I was with, say, well, anyone, especially someone who, we'll call them a prospect. So what would occur is that I would have no space, right? I'm pointing to my head. I would have no space up here to truly be and serve you because I would be all caught up in my own crap. So the words I like to use are, I was excessively self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I needed to work on that. I knew that that was my work, that I wasn't going to be able to create clients and I wasn't going to be on my way towards creating a prosperous coaching practice unless I worked on that.
Yeah, and that really, if you hadn't, that could have stopped you creating your practice.
100%. I was ready to quit.
Yeah.
I was ready to leave because I guess in a real way, I don't think I was conscious of it at the time, prior to not knowing what the fear was, that I actually could correct that. I was pretty much sure that that was just who I was. And I couldn't change that. Right. That's the danger of story. And that's the danger of not having someone to help you navigate this. Because your mind is so powerful.
That's what you were sharing about the scales, right? Like, gosh, when the scales are tipped in the other direction and it actually looks like I'm helpless against this.
Exactly.
Focuses on the story, but without the possibility of seeing something different, the scales suddenly feel.
That's right. And remember what your mind's job is, right? Byron Katie said this. Remember what your mind's job is. Your mind's job is to prove a thought is right. Mm. So if the scales are tipped, right, and the fear is you're having that, and again, it really is just a moment. It's just a state of mind, right? We all have them. They fluctuate throughout the day. But if you're in a moment where the fear is greater than the desire or the want to push and create what it is that you want to create in the life you want to lead, if you give that focus, right, if you follow that thought, your mind's going to do its job. It's going to go immediately and look for all the evidence to prove that thought's right. And it will do that. And then what will happen is you'll begin to become unraveled, and that will be reality. That'll be what occurs. Because again, remember, whatever it is you're looking for out there, you're going to see. Whatever you focus on, you will create.
And what I hear you saying, John, you tell me if this is not accurate, but what I'm hearing is there was still a focus on the thought, but it was completely different because you were focused on, I want to see something different about this thought. So, because a lot of people can be thinking like, I just need to get rid of the thought, right? And I'm going to ignore the thought. I'm going to avoid the thought. I'm going to try and push the thought away. And what you're really sharing is, I knew that thought was my work. I'm going to dive in. But
my work is to embrace it.
Yeah. And explore it.
Totally. So it's acknowledge that it's there, and then it's accepting that it's there. And then the last part, which is the hardest, but really it's the turning point. It was for me anyway. It's really where things can go vertical when you learn how to actually embrace it.
Yeah.
You know, when you really learn how to embrace it. In other words, if you're in that space where you're having that not so powerful listening, right? The negative, focusing on the fear. And it's here. In other words, it's physically in you, right? I don't know about you, but I mean, you feel the wave of it, right? You feel it wash over you. And for me, I get it right here in my stomach, in my belly. So when I learned to just Number one, recognize that in other words, it's already here. So what if, in the words of our coach, Gary Mahler, what he would say is, what if we just laid the welcome mat out for whatever's here? Right? And breathe through it, right? Using your breath as a tonic, and again, not trying to like it, right? I'm not saying that you need to, count your blessings that you're experiencing this, because this is where the rubber meets the road, and this is wonderful. No, let's not kid ourselves. You don't like it. It's not good. You don't really want it to be there, but here's the thing, it's already here. So what if I can hold it from this place of acceptance? And then what if I could turn the dial way up? And what if I could really look at it from a place of like compassion and love? Like, it's totally okay. It's totally okay. Matter of fact, I'm going to even turn it up a bit higher, and I'm going to forgive myself for believing all those not so flattering things that I believe are true. That's going to get in my way from doing what I really want. I'm going to forgive myself for judging myself for having believed all that in the first place.
Yeah.
It's that practice.
Can you share a little bit more? You said something really cool, and I don't want it to get missed, about that's not powerful listening. So when the focus was on the fear, you said that's not powerful listening. And I know what you mean by that. But
yeah, that's you attaching to the non-powerful listening, right? We listen all day long. I don't care who you are, whether you're Richard Branson, or John Guanci, right? Uber successful people, not so successful people. It's like all day long, there's these thoughts, right? We don't know where the hell they're coming from. You can't necessarily control your thinking, but you can control which ones you're going to give time and attention to, right? You can do that. And the truth of the matter is, all day long, we've got the non-powerful and we've got the powerful. But for most of us, it's the most idiotic thing ever. Like, we give time and attention and take action from the non-powerful, and we let the powerful listening just sort of filter off and think that, like, I don't know, I don't need to really pay much attention to that. Maybe it's like a biological thing. Like, we think we need to give time and attention to the threat, otherwise we'll be eaten by the tiger. We've all read that. But for me, and again, I learned this from our coach. This is very Steve Hardison esque as well. But it's like, if we're going to identify with our thinking, because we do that, we're very good at it. We've become very good at it. So if we're going to identify with our thinking, if we're going to do that anyway, what if I decided right now that anytime I had a loving and or productive thought, what if I busied myself to become that one? Like, what if I busied myself to believe that? Right? Because right now I'm doing a really good job at identifying and believing the non-powerful. So I know I can do it, right? I know I can identify with my thinking. So what if I could just flip it on its head? What if that's not me? What if I'm actually the more powerful, loving voice that I'm hearing in my head? Just that practice alone, that's you turning the dial way up in terms of your inner work success. And I believe, right, the world doesn't necessarily give you what you want. It gives you how you're being, right? Some people call it law of attraction. I think it's just basic science, right? Match the energy in terms of what you're trying to create, and you can't help create what it is that you want to create, right? That's Einstein. So it's like, I'm through wallowing and identifying with the non-powerful. I'm done. I've had enough of that. I'm not going to do it anymore. But I'm also going to know that I'm human. And there are going to be times where I do that. And that's totally okay. I forgive and I come back. I forgive that I'm myself, that I'm doing it, that I'm attaching to the non-powerful, and it's becoming me. I'm feeling it in me. And in that moment, I pivot. And I go back to how I want to be. And I show up as that. Because I know if I show up as that, that's the best I can do. That's the best I can do for me. And that's the best I can do for my family. That's the best I can do for the world. That's the best I can do for my clients. And if I just do that, then what if everything else fell into place? What if everything else fell into place? In other words, me learning to be me, my best self, like everyone says, like, just be yourself, you'll be fine. But what if you don't know what that is?
I didn't
What if
like,
you don't know what that is, right?
I didn't like myself, so it's like, I don't want to be myself.
Right, but what if you think you're the guy? It's all of that crap, right? Because many of us do that. We think we are the person we should be or need to be, or we think we are that non so powerful voice, right? So for many of us, when we get that advice, just be yourself, it's not all that helpful. There's a deeper layer. You got to pull back the onion on that and say, okay, maybe I don't know who the hell I am. Maybe that's my problem. So if I get busy figuring out who I am, and part of that comes from, again, learning how to identify with the loving and productive thinking. If I just did that, man, if I showed up to the world that way, what if that's truly me being me? And what if that was the key for me when it comes to coaching, of creating a prosperous coaching practice? What if I could get people to pay me lots and lots of money for me to show up like this? Right? That's it.
It's unlearning and rebuilding.
I love what you just, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
I think, and again, I don't know if this is true, but I think that there's some people that have a resistance to that because they're conditioned and don't necessarily see it as conditioning, right? They see it as truth, to believe that working harder, doing more of the how-to, doing more, like that's the way to success. And I used to work in HR and I saw this all the time around that emphasis on developing the softer skills, as they would call it, right? So we're taking that to another level and really identifying with ourselves differently, seeing ourselves differently. But there was a real dismissiveness of that, of like drawing that out and creating and taking action from there. What would you say to someone who might be in that, like, no, just tell me how and I'll do it, that might not necessarily recognize the importance of who you're being in doing is the thing that's going to leverage, like you're just going to see much more success that way?
What do you want? I mean, it comes down to, what do you want? I mean, do you want, because it is possible to be successful in coming from this place of doing, and, you know, more time equals more money. Of course, I grew up in that. That was my experience as a kid, seeing my father run a business, and he always had plenty of money. I remember I would ask him for like $20 and he would pull out this big wad of cash, and I'd be like, wow, I can't wait to have all that money. But I never saw my father. He was never around. He was always working. And I took that on because those are the messages I was receiving about money and about work, about time spent, about even worth. Like I came up with this idea that I'm not a productive member of society, or I'm not okay unless I'm out there working, right? If I put in my 50, 60 hours, that means I'm okay. So it's this really weird dynamic, but I know I'm not alone. So I was on that path, and I would have made myself a very, very comfortable and even lucrative living, working like he did. But for me, it wasn't, I just woke up one day and said no to that. But there was a lot of fear because that's all I knew. Mm. But I suppose there was this trust that there was another way out there. Right, because there's not, right, because we all know there isn't one right way to do anything. But I knew that if for me, like, what if I had it all wrong in terms of like more time equals more money? Because what if there's a way for me to create something, not from this, not from the push and pull and have tos and striving and working my ass off. What if there's a way for me to create everything I wanted to create in life, you know, income wise, but more importantly, freedom, right? Fulfillment. But without the heavy pedaling, right? Without the this. Like, what if I could actually work less and make more? It sounds crazy. At least it did for me. Like, even me still saying it, there are days I really can't believe it. The fact that where I'm at now, in terms of how much I work now compared to how much I worked 10 years ago, it just blows my mind. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but it is possible. I'm not saying that you can't create from this and be really successful. But I suppose what I'm suggesting is, it's like, okay, well, what if there's a better way?
It's not at all costs.
Right. In other words, what if you could do really well, but have it only be like this much of your week? The rest of the time you're doing really what you want to do. Like, you're playing with your kids. You're there for your wife every morning. You know, you start dinner at 3:30 in the afternoon, right? It's like, there is no, like, this whole 8 to 5 crap. It's like, who said you had to work a lot to make a lot of money? Who said that?
The person working 5 hours a week that you're working for, I imagine.
Yeah.
But then I love what you shared there, John, because there is a difference, isn't there, between doing really well? Because when I would have said, like, before I became a coach, I was doing well, but I wasn't well.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing really well. I'm also being really well. And that, I think, is an important distinction to make, because in that being well, that allows me to be well with my clients and serve and, you know, live a life that actually isn't just successful, but I'm living successfully.
Totally.
Yeah.
I wanted to just add as well, because again, this shows where I was when I started out, right? And it's like, sometimes these questions still emerge, even though I know it to be different now. So I just noticed that one of my questions was like, yeah, but does it happen as quickly? Surely it's going to take longer, right? And so I want to make sure people are hearing that. What I really hear you say is, you can be so much more impactful when you know who you are and you come from this place, and doing that work is what allows you to have a lesser working week.
That's exactly right.
What you're doing is so much more powerful. So it's not like, oh, I get to just go for coffee and then just show up, and there is work involved. But what you're sharing is,
but it doesn't resemble the work and the effort that you know. That's the difference. There is the doing, but it doesn't resemble the doing and the working that you know of now. It's a different way of doing and, of course, being. And it happens when it happens, right? One of the in terms of timing. But it's such a paradox. It really is, because it's like the moment when you really learn the art of really slowing down and stepping into who it is that you really are, and not being in a hurry to do, right? Like I have a podcast. It's titled The Restless Achiever, right? Because that's who I believe that the people that are naturally that I attract. You know, it's like the moment you let go of that, and it's like you just sort of park your ego, which is work, right? But the moment you do that, it's like the scales, they just kind of fall off of you, and you like become more and more of who you truly are. And It's like, it's really an art to learn how to do it. And when you do it, then you go vertical. It's like, then it all happens. You know, I don't know how to, other way to describe it than that, other than it's like, I suppose what occurs is that your thinking gets better. In other words, when I mean by that, it's like, you know, that creative mechanism that's in you, that's in me, that's in everyone. We all have it. So it's almost like when you get really good at slowing down and stepping into who it is that you are, and explore this new way of being and doing, what happens is there's it's like your mind is, it's sort of just let go. It's like when you're at a, like like in one of the Steve Chandler's books, he talks about this, like, it's like when you're trying to come up with a name, you know, it happens all the time, right? And you're racking your mind about, oh, what's her name again? I can't think. And then you're in the shower, right? Nice warm shower. All of a sudden, Lisa. Gosh. It's like the moment you freaking stopped and got the hell out of the way and stopped trying so hard, the answer came to you. So what occurred for me is that as I slowed more and more down, what occurs is that you have an idea. You have a thought. Oh my gosh. You know, I saw Lisa. I met this woman, Lisa, on Facebook. And I saw a post she put out. And I don't know. I feel like I could help her. I feel like she's hurting in some way. So I'm just going to say hello. And I reach out to Lisa, but coming from this place of true, like, authenticity. In other words, because of the way I'm being, I'm not this, right? I'm not the gripping and the clenching. And because of the way I am, and literally, this may sound crazy, but I think you both are going to agree with me because we're all connected. I hit send. Lisa, you get that message. You feel that. You feel that I'm connecting simply because I want to connect and I'm there to help. And you welcome it. As opposed to the opposite of that. Is if I'm in this place of gripping and clenching and need to, and I'm in a hurry and I'm out there just trying to serve to get clients, right? In order to, you're going to feel that too.
Yeah. Totally.
That's the difference.
There might.
Like,
No, you
I'm just going to say this one thing. It's like you. No, I'm not going to keep. That's it. I'm done for now. Go ahead, Sam.
Now I'm curious.
No, it was this. It was this. Like, you care so much that you don't care.
Yeah.
In other words, you care so much that you don't care what occurs. You're caught up in the action of you reaching out from this place of caring, sort of like of service, right? We started the conversation about that like you're not tied to where it might go. So you're caring so much that you like, it's like you don't care. You're just being that way simply because that's how you want to be. You're not being that way in order to get something.
It's the opposite of what you were sharing at the beginning, where your head was filled with thoughts of you, right? The spotlight was on you. And now it's like, no, that's just not relevant anymore. The spotlight is well and truly on the other person. And like, how can I be of service?
That's right. But you have to, for many of us, we have to learn that.
Yeah.
You have to work on that. Mm. And the moment you basically surrender to it, surrender to that work, like that work is more important than you going out and quote unquote getting a client. How's that? Like, how's that one? That one's a tough pill to swallow for me. I know it was. What do you mean? I need to get a client. If I don't get a client, I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage. All right. So guess what, John? Go figure out another way to pay your mortgage, and then get your ass back to work on you. Never mind that other client. Because if you get that other client, yeah, they'll get them to pay you, but how good are you going to be for them? Because you're all about you. You can't serve them. You're going to be up here in your head. So do Lisa a favor and don't get her to pay you money because you need her money. The truth of the matter is you don't need her money. You know, you don't need her stinky, dirty, rotten, filthy money. That's what Steve Chandler would say. Like, you don't need it. You need money, but you don't necessarily need it from Lisa. I don't necessarily need it from Sam. I can go, which is what I did. I humbly knocked on my brother's door and we were like oil and water. We did not end things well, but I knocked on his door. Why? Because, well, I could use the support financially. And the most beautiful thing happened. One, I was able to make ends meet. And two, I was able to repair my relationship with my brother. Right? Amazing. You know, this, when I mean this, I mean the world of coaching, right? You as a coach, wherever you are right now, you're listening to this. Drop this like when is it going to happen, right? When am I going to fill my client load? I've got a handful of clients and I've got space for 20. You know, when? Drop it. You know, one of the things Gary coached me on, he said, I want you to ask this question. And the question is this: how long, like ask this to yourself, how long can I live in this land of no results? And I want the answer to be indefinitely. Have the answer to be indefinitely. Like, answer that. Ask that question. How long can I live in this land of no results? Indefinitely. The moment you embrace that is when all of a sudden you're going to get results. It's the craziest thing. It's the craziest thing. Not only that the struggle, like recognizing that the struggle is there, it's 100% real, but actually the struggle's good. Whoa. Like that's a, you know, how long can I live in the land of no results? Indefinitely. I'm not going anywhere. Takes what it takes. I don't give a shit. When? But John, when? When is it going to happen? I don't know. I'm too busy living.
I love that. Yeah.
I'm too busy living. I'm too busy getting good at really standing firm in who it is that I am and then giving the world that. And you know what? Who knows when it's going to occur? In many ways, it already has because of the way I'm showing up. So it's like, it's only a matter of time. Simply by the way I show up to the world, right? That, because I know that if I'm this way consistently and I leave people with a tiny piece of me, right? And I mean everyone, no matter who they are, grocery clerk, you know, the guy cutting my hair, whatever. If I leave a little piece of me wherever I go, someone's going to call me. But I'm not doing it to get someone to call me, right? That's the distinction.
Yeah. There's so much value in what's been shared here today. And just that last bit, you know, like really learning to drop the timeline, because the suffering comes when we put a timeline on things, or there should be here, or when I've got this, then I'm going to feel this. And learning to bring the feeling that you want to the present moment and create from there. Learning to drop into creating yourself to be the person that loves life from now, without needing all of that external, like I need my business to be at a certain level before I can enjoy it. It's like, no, that, because you're never going to hit that level. Or there's a possibility that you'll never hit that level. because you think it's this, right? You think it's this that's giving you this feeling. And I think for me, one of the biggest shifts was learning, finding a way to love creating from now.
Mhm.
And building my business from the present moment, and seeing that I get to bring the joy and the happiness from right now. That changed things for me.
You know, I love that. And what's come from me is that you can be the greatest coach on the planet without any clients. It's true. It really is true. Like, you can declare right now that I'm a really good coach, even though I don't have any clients. Doesn't mean anything. It does if you have it mean something. Just like if you have a full schedule of clients, doesn't necessarily mean you're a great coach. It doesn't necessarily mean that. And you're here, right? 3 things, very way of mastery, but it's like 3 things, right? It's you're okay, right? So you're totally okay, like right here. 2, you're at peace. You truly are. Most of us are. And the 3rd thing, you're awake. You're wide awake. You're walking into the unknown with a curious and open heart, right? You're walking into the mystery of life. And, you know, sometimes planning's great, right? Sure, you need to have an idea on where you're trying to, what you get to, where you're trying to go. But it's like for many of us, we get so attached into when, right? Or how we're going to do it. And we get into trouble. You know, we get into trouble. When the truth of the matter is, I have no idea. I have an idea in terms of what's going to occur today or what I want to have happen by the end of the year. But it's more than likely never going to turn out exactly the way in which I want it to or hope it to. Like, that's 100% true. But we forget that. So what if I could just open up to it all and like just got super curious and like looked at it as like, this is an adventure. I have no idea what's going to happen today. That's awesome. I can't wait. and I noticed as I began to practice that, I wake up every day like it's freaking Christmas morning. Like, you know, when you wake up on Christmas morning as a kid, you know that there were going to be some things under the tree, right? You just knew it. And you could tell, even if they were wrapped up, you knew what they were, right? So, but there was always a couple things that you didn't know you were going to get, that you get. You're like, wow, it's amazing. Same thing here. Same thing with as you create your day. It's going to be things that you more than likely know are going to occur, and you're looking forward to that. But there's going to be some other things that, you know, that you weren't expecting. Sometimes the non-flattering things. But what if those were actually gifts, right? Because what if you looked at them as that, and trusted that life is going to continue to present new things with the things that I need to learn? So I'm golden. Why the worry?
The word that really stands out in this conversation for me is unattached.
Unattached.
Yeah, unattached. You know, you were sharing around when we're attached to the idea of who I am or who I should be, who I think I should be, who I think I am, the speed of the results that should happen. If we have an attachment to an idea or something, that creates this suffering, creates the not freedom that we could otherwise be experiencing.
The walls close in.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about that.
Yeah.
The walls begin to close in.
Yeah.
and then you're in danger. And you know what? You started the conversation, Lisa, about coaches that just sort of leave the profession and go get jobs. They never return. And then what occurs is, well, the world, we don't get that from you. We don't get a Lisa. We don't get a Sam. And that's terrible. We miss out on you. And that's a tragedy. I really believe it. Because I really believe, and I know you guys too, the power of coaching. Because like you, I've made a sizable investment, right? And I don't know about you, but I begin to walk around like who says coaching is only for, if you think about it, anybody who's quote unquote top tier, right? Like a Tiger, well, he's no longer top tier, but a professional golfer, or a CEO of a $1 billion company. The president of the United States, right? I mean, has a coach, has a group of people that point out things to them, that remind them on what it is that they want, that don't believe in their stories, right? That they tell themselves. We can't afford to lose people that truly want to do this, that are victim of their thinking, of their non-powerful, of identifying with the non-powerful. And then the world's walls close in, and that's it. The door closes, and they don't get to serve the world. Yeah. So that's what you guys are doing, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah,
we do too.
Yeah. And you're going to be a part of that next year.
So you say. I don't no idea what that's going to look like, but I can't wait.
We'll let you know when we know.
Sounds wonderful. In the meantime, I'm just going to go up, I'm going to, again, wait for that day like it's Christmas morning. I'm going to open up that gift that I wasn't expecting, and there it is. It's going to be you two. Can't wait.
Best Christmas ever.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So we're coming to the end of our time in this conversation, and there may be a part two, but right now there isn't a plan for one. So bearing in mind what we've spoken about and the intention behind these calls or these conversations, what's left for you to say? Or is there anything left for you to say? Because you might feel empty.
Your path is your own. Your mission's your own. And it's not drop what everyone else is doing. There are, dare I say, offer yourself infinite amounts of patience. That in itself is a practice as you continue to grow both personally and professionally. And know that you're going to always be growing. And life's going to give you what you need to learn. It has a way of doing that. You don't have to go out and search for it. You don't have to go out and try to manufacture it or make it happen. Matter of fact, I'm a true believer that if you look at, pick someone who's super successful, right? Like even in the coaching world, Steve Hardison, right? It's $200,000 a year to work with him. I read an early copy of his book, and it talks about his journey and how he created what he created. And it's like, he just showed up to what life was offering him. That's all he did. And he stayed awake. The truth of the matter is, believe that life is going to continue to be on your side, and is going to give you things, is going to present you opportunities, but you're going to miss them You'll most definitely miss them if you're self-absorbed in your own shit. You'll miss them. 100%. So if you find yourself excessively self-conscious, self-absorbed, I can't do this, identifying with the fear, if you find yourself doing that, then you got to correct it immediately. Because what's going to happen is 10 years is going to go by like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And it's not the end of the world, though, if that happens, right? Like, so what if you're 45? So what if you're 50? 40, so what if you're 55, 65? And you finally, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, you can do a whole lot right from where you are. You really can. And people say change takes time, right? Yeah, but like it's all relative. Like, how much time? Who knows? Sometimes change happens like that. Transformation can happen in a matter of like a second, and your life's never the same. So it's not necessarily about, oh, things take time. Oh boy, I don't know if I have it in me. You know, it's like, geez, when? Trust that things can literally turn on a dime. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it in my clients. And the truth is, this is the last thing I'm going to say, I promise. You are going to fall off. You are going to stumble. You are going to leave the path that you really know that you need and want to be on. You are. Why? Because you're human. It's not a Lisa issue. It's not a John issue. It's not a Sam issue. It's a human issue. So you are going to, so it's not as much about staying on the path as it is just getting your ass back onto the path when you notice that you've fallen off. That's all it is. And to keep aligning your actions with your desire. That's all it is. Oh, I'm noticing that I'm identifying with the non-powerful John, the non-powerful thinking. And I've got this idea that I can't quite get this done, and that the world's closing in around me, and then I'm going to run out of money, and that Sam's going to fire me. And then all of a sudden wake up tomorrow, I'm going to have no clients. I'm going to have to go get a job. Right? Oh, not the path that I was on yesterday. So I'm going to pick myself up off the floor. I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to get my ass back onto the path. No problem.
Yeah.
What a great way to end.
Told you I'm not saying anything else. So that's it.
Well, I'm going to invite you to
No, I
say
just
one
did.
more short thing, if I may, which is, if people listening to this want to know more about you or speak to you, where do they find you?
They can find I have a website. It's myname.com. So John, JOHNGUANCI.com. Or they can connect with me via Facebook. Just connect, send me a message, say hello. And if they ever wanted to hear more about this conversation or continue a conversation from this one, I'll find the time. We'll find the time. We'll make it happen.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I cannot wait to have you in our school next year, John. The guys are in for a real treat.
Me too.
Yeah, it has been awesome. I've loved this conversation. I've loved getting to know a little bit more about your journey. And I just know at the bottom of my heart that this is going to serve so many coaches out there, because your experience is so real and raw and honest. So
Thank you.
my wish is that, and I believe fully that this is going to leave people with a real sense of possibility for themselves. Yeah. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you.